All right, we are live. This time it worked. Sorry earlier, guys. I had Steve Mako on. I am working on uploading the video now, so you guys will see that. Now we have first year program, Montreat College, the Cavaliers. We have their head coach on, Jake Britt. They're part of the NAIA program, as everyone knows. And as I'm learning, the NAIA is growing big. We've got several schools in Florida that are involved in it. North Carolina, Georgia, and so on and so forth. So welcome. I hope everything's going well for you and your family. I'm sure this has affected your initiation as a head coach at that school. So talk about what you're trying to do to kind of still get through the days.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me on. I was excited, the opportunity to be able to present our program out to more people, So, I mean,
Sure.
COVID kind of affected us a little bit. It is what it is. God has a plan for everything. It's crazy that this is kind of part of it, but I believe in his plan, and I believe in everything that he wants to do. So we're rolling with it. It made it hard to get to know some of the people here, because they haven't been around as much because of all this. They've been taking care of their families. But other than that, man, recruiting's going well. We're working really hard to get our facility up and running and get it settled for next fall. And just doing what we can every day, making the best of it and trusting that God's going to keep all of us safe.
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, we're all trusting in him right now. And I appreciate you coming on. And I've had some other NAIA schools on. I've had Coach Soto from St. Andrews. I've had Coach George from SEU, Coach Marcus from Kaiser, and now you from Montreat. I'm working on some other ones just to help out your schools. I just believe it's great to wrestle in college at any level. And so talk about your wrestling background a little bit. I know you were a North Carolina State placer. You wrestled at a local high school there. Talk about what wrestling means to you and what your career has looked like up to this point.
So, I mean, like you said, I came from a small town, North Carolina. Not many people heard of the high school that I've come from. It was James B. Hunt High School. It was a 3A division. In North Carolina, they have 4 divisions. So we were the second largest division. I took 4th in high school my senior year. Nothing special, Went to college, got a college scholarship to go to Limestone College for 2 years. And then they had a coaching change. And I felt like it was best for me to follow a different path. Limestone hired a great coach, created a great program there, but I felt like it was better for me to go a different way. So I ended up transferring to Life University in Marietta, Georgia. The head coach there, whenever I got there, was Mike Miller. He started the program and started the program from scratch. And then going into my senior year, Coach Omi Acosta, who's actually from Florida, took over the program and led it to what it is today. I'm a proud alumni. I thank Coach O every day for what he's done for me. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be in the position that I'm in right now.
And they are everywhere. I mean, every tournament I go to, I see Life U, man.
Oh yeah, and he's a great mentor. He gets himself out there. He's very personable. He's a great coach. And I look up to him. He's done me right, and he's always been there for me anytime I needed something. Went to college. I went to Life. Every year I was at Life, we took top 10 at national duels. 2 years in a row we took 3rd. I was team captain my senior year. One of the team captains my senior year, and we had a great program our senior year. And my team had a lot of guys around me, that were successful. When I was first year there, our 41-pounder was an All-American. Our 25-pounder was an All-American. He's actually coaching down at Bruton Parker now. He's the assistant coach down there in Georgia. A couple of other guys around me were real tough. We always had a real tough room. It was real competitive. I wrestled 33 my first year, 41 my second year, went back down to 33, made it 1 match away from going to nationals, lost out at the Mid-South Conference. Same thing senior year, went down to 125, wrestled, made it 1 match away from qualifying for nationals and lost out, and I don't make excuses. It is what it is. I didn't have the best career. I was kind of always hindered by injuries, but I had a lot of good guys around me that were real successful. And they tell me all the time that I was helpful. I was a great training partner. And I think that's what's going to make me a good coach is the fact that I'm able to push guys to get better. Whether I'm amazing at wrestling or not. Sometimes the best coaches in the country weren't successful, and they don't need to be. But it's all
Sometimes
about
the best at anything in the country weren't successful at it, but they're really good at managing and coaching. And
exactly. Sometimes it's just about pouring into kids and changing their lives. And that's my plan here.
absolutely, and that's great. And talk about, I mean, do you? And I don't know this, but I like to ask. Without wrestling, are you where you are now? Without wrestling, are you in college?
Absolutely not.
Without wrestling, where would you be?
If I didn't go to college to wrestle, if the head coach Trent Goodell hadn't called me and asked me if I wanted to be a part of the team, I'd probably be in the military overseas right now. Being honest, serving my country in another way. So that was my plan out of high school, was to go to the military, and then God changed my direction and gave me the opportunity to go to college to wrestle. And I felt like it's been the best fit for me. I knew wrestling was a part of my life, and I never thought I could take it to college because I never won a state championship. So I assumed, if you don't win, they don't want you, but they made it. They wanted me, and I took the opportunity to go there, and I'm grateful for it every day.
Well, and it's good. And talk about how competitive it is in the NAIA. I know a lot of folks think if you're not maybe Division I athlete or on a Division I mat, the talent level drops off. But I haven't heard that that's totally true. I mean, there's obviously blue chip athletes, but I've heard that the talent in those NAIA rooms, Division III rooms, Division II rooms are real solid, but the NAIA is kind of building a name for themselves.
Man, I'm telling you, I wrestled in Division II and I wrestled in NAIA. They were both super competitive. Division I's always a dream for a lot of kids, but some people have lived that dream, and they'll say that they'd rather you go Division II or NAIA or Division III. The education purposes, and just the competitive purposes. Sometimes you can make a difference in another school. And I'm saying, when you talk about Grandview, Life, Lindsey Wilson, Campbellsville, SEU, programs like that, you're talking top echelon NAI, that could compete with anybody in the country. I've seen programs like Grandview and SEU wrestle some tough Division II teams and beat them or take them to the brink, and make it a lot closer than what people thought it would be, and I believe that NAI is making a name for itself, and a lot of these programs, like I said, like Grandview, Life, SEU, programs like that are really, really changing the game for the NAI, and I'm just grateful to be a part of it and super excited to hopefully become one of those programs one day.
That's all. And not only that, I mean, you've been at a Division II college or Division, what was it, two, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
you've also wrestled at an NAIA college, and now you're coaching at NAIA college. And so maybe I'm a kid that is being recruited heavily by the lower divisions and NAIA. And you're talking to me, and I'm asking you honestly, while you're in my living room, why should I choose NAIA over one of these lower division? I'm being told, this, that, and the other thing.
Well, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's the kid's choice, and I always tell them that. And my big thing is go where God's calling you to be. I've never want to try to bribe a kid to come here or try to force them to come here. Go where God's calling you to be. For me, it's just about trying to make them feel comfortable and make it feel like it's a personable relationship with me, so that they're not walking into an uncomfortable situation. A lot of coaches some coaches will try to make it where it's like, hey, make a decision by this week, and they feel pressured into making a decision. I don't want kids to feel pressured into making a decision, so try to make it as best for them and make them choose the decision because that's where God wants them to be.
And that's awesome. And I'm sure when you're sitting in kids' living room and you have their best interest at heart, that's going to help. I mean, we understand that college athletics are a business to an extent, but you also want to feel like you're going somewhere where the coach really cares. I mean, I have a friend who's he has Atlas speed training, and he could have went anywhere in the country, and he ended up in Boone. And I asked him, man, how'd you end up there? Like this is way out, way beyond what I would imagine for you. And he said, when the coach came in the room, he was the only coach that put his arm around me and kind of said, hey, we want you for you, not just because you can run. So whether it's true or not, it worked. He went there and he said he felt welcome, and obviously the rest is history. So I think that's big. That and I don't know if you heard Kevin Nordstrom on the other day, and it turned out to be a long interview, but he's big into getting in the ears of these colleges to make sure there is some sort of mentoring program and education program in these wrestling rooms, so that you don't go from being like this, rock star, and then all of a sudden college ends and you don't know where to go and you're lost.
Right. Absolutely. And that's real important, and the connections that some people have, and, and you got to make new connections every day, so the ability to be able to lead kids and pour into kids is the most important thing for me as a coach. I live by my own philosophy that I've heard from other coaches, so it's not necessarily mine, but I've turned it into my own, my philosophy. I want to be a transformational coach and not a transactional coach, and that's real important to me. And I tell myself that every day when I wake up, is to make sure that I'm not trying to benefit from these kids, that I can give them so that they can benefit from me and the program itself.
That's all I'm getting. I'm still getting texts. A guy in North Carolina is like, "Hey, let's come on D3 school." So that's pretty cool. Rob Pancake just said, "Good morning, Jake."
Yeah, I when I was in Life, I coached his son. His son was there for a couple of years in Life whenever I was coaching there. He's a great young man. The Pancakes are good people.
Yeah. So how crazy is this? Oh, look, Lindsay Dahl. That's my former drill partner.
Yeah, we were together at Limestone together. Yeah, I know a lot of people, man. I'm very personable, and I know a lot of people.
That's awesome. Yeah. So funny story. I've been with State Farm and the Pancakes for, gosh, I don't know, since I was like 23 years old, and I'm going to be 44. So for a long time, and for a long time, Rob was down there in the office before he moved. And I wasn't into wrestling then. And my son wasn't even born at the time. And then he was born in now seventh grade. He gets into wrestling. And then of course I started this. And after the first couple shows, I get a message from Rob, and he's like, "Hey man, your son wrestles?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Oh, my kid wrestled." And he started sending me pictures, and we started talking. He's like, "I thought I heard that voice." I was like, "I know that guy." And then it was cool because it connected us again. And it was pretty awesome. And I had no idea that his son was into wrestling and that community in there. And so that's awesome, man. And yeah. And that's why, I mean, I'm doing this. I get to meet people like you, and I think the public needs to see. Yeah, sure. It's great to see Yanni, and it's great to see Spencer Lee, and it's great to see the top echelon people. But there's so much involved behind them that made them.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
There's young coaches. There's kids that are drilling with them. There's drill partners. I think that sometimes I talk to guys, and if they didn't have that drill partner, they wouldn't be who they are today. So a lot of cool stuff. So what's going to be so you haven't started there yet. I mean, you started there, but you haven't started really coaching there yet, because this all happened, right? So I'm sure you're going to have kind of a set of core values that you're going to want to bring to this program. You're probably going to have kind of as you go, you'll figure out kind of what the in season and out of season looks like, I'm sure, for you. And then you'll probably get into curriculum stuff and kind of set up some sort of separation to make sure they're focused on grades as well. And then I'm sure you're looking for a certain type of kid. Obviously you're looking for wrestlers, but I think it sounds like you want a certain kid too. So talk about kind of all that stuff. Obviously I can't ask you what they are yet, because you don't have a program. I mean, you have a program, but you haven't lived through that first year yet to kind of set the groundwork.
So, big thing with core values here is to have a Christ-centered environment. It's real important to the school and to myself also that we have a Christ-centered education and a Christ-centered environment. So our team will be built around being Christ-centered, and worshiping and growing together as a family, not only as wrestlers and as people, but as Christians as well. We'll have the right environment there, and that's the biggest thing, and it's just about doing the right things. And a lot of all coaches say that, and they try to preach the right things, and a lot of coaches do, So I just hope to be able to teach kids to do the right things. Kids are going to make mistakes, and I'm not going to hold that against them, but I'm going to try to teach them right from wrong and try to tell them, like, hey, this isn't the path you want to go down, or this is the path you need to be following, so that's really important to me. And just making sure that we're fighting, making sure that we're going out and giving our 100% effort all the time, and that's the most important thing. I could care less if they win or lose. Obviously I want to win, I'm competitive, but if they lose and they gave me 100%, I'm going to be satisfied and happy with it, because at the end of the day, if you gave up on yourself, you're going to start giving up on yourself in life, so we got to teach ourselves not to give up in a wrestling match. So that's a big deal for me as a program. And we're recruiting, I'm recruiting hard. I got a lot of guys coming in already, and I'm super excited about it. I have a lot of tough guys coming in, and we're just building on the basis of making sure that kids want to work, and that's the first thing I tell them every time they come on a visit. I'm like, hey, we're going to have fun, we're going to get it done, but you got to be ready to work whenever it's time to work, and I make sure they know that when they get here, I'm going to be hard on you. I'm going to be loud. I'm going to be obnoxious sometimes because everybody knows that I am, that knows me. But it's just my personality. And I make sure that they know when you get here, we're going to put in the work, and that's one of the most important things about recruiting for me, is that they understand that you got to get ready to go to work.
That's awesome. Now, I wanted to ask, talk about being a young coach. You get an opportunity to take over a program as the head coach, right? You've been assistant coaches before.
Yes, sir.
Now that community, that wrestling community, that coaching community, how has it been as far as them kind of contacting you and gathering around you and being like, hey man, you got this. There's some good kids around. Here's what we did when we started our program. Do you see a lot of that from the wrestling community?
Absolutely. I came from, like I said, I started at Life University. I was a student assistant there because I finished my eligibility before I graduated. And Coach O mentored me a lot and taught me a lot of great things, and I was able to learn from him. And I ended up going to Emmanuel College, Division II in Franklin Springs, Georgia, and I got to be the full-time assistant there. And I got to coach two programs, so I got to learn from two different coaches. I got to learn from Link Davis, he's the head men's coach, and I got to learn from Christy Davis, who's the head women's coach and is actually the winningest wrestler in women's history. So I got to pick her brain a lot, and I got to learn from her.
That's bad, huh?
No, not at all. You can't beat that, and it was a great opportunity to learn from somebody, two people like that, because Coach Davis has coached some great programs out of Oklahoma, and he was a great mentor also. And then when this came along, it was an opportunity for me to go home, because I'm North Carolina born and bred, so it was an opportunity for me to go home and be closer to family and recruit from my roots, And I have coaches that reach out to me all the time. Coach O still reaches out to me almost on a daily basis, make sure I'm doing all right, and if I have any questions, and being around somebody that came from a program like Grandview, it got me connected with the Grandview coach. So I don't have like a relationship with the Grandview coach, but we're personable. We talk, so he's reached out to me and given me some advice. I've also been in contact with Jeff Bedard. He runs the Reinhardt program up in Georgia as well. And he took a program that was first year program, in 3 years. He took top 5 in the country, so he's a great guy to have as an asset to be able to ask questions to. And also just the ability to use Mike Moyer. Also, Mike Moyer is very personable, and he's always willing to help, So if I have a question, I can email Mike Moyer, and he's willing to help or find me the information that I need to be successful.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And this is great. So a friend of mine, Jack Eisenhut, he has a young man, Cade, who wrestles. His club is CFWA. His high school's Bishop Moore, and he just put a cool thing on here. It's great to have an opportunity to listen to the different coaches from around the country when your kid makes a decision to visit or commit. Having had a little background in programs and coaches has helped us. Keep this up. Coach Britt seems like a great person and a coach. So this is good stuff, man. This makes me really happy that people are actually seeing this. And, not only did they get to meet, the second active winningest coach in Coach Borelli from Central Michigan, but they also get to meet guys like you and Soto. And that's awesome. Because, and George and Marcus and, the guys from those programs. So, yeah, man, Jack, I'm trying, man. I'm working at it. Thanks for the nice compliment for us.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's awesome, man. And people are definitely watching.
Yes, sir.
We may not get too many views when we're live, but when they get off, they get into, you get a few hundred so far, hopefully it'll work up to that. I mean, now if you're Mike Krause, then it goes up to about 3,000 views because I get
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
but,
Absolutely. Mike Krause.
but that's awesome. So do you plan on having guys like that come in the room, reach out to some big guys like that and come in the room and do some training things with your guys, with your young, do you plan on bringing in some mentors, some just people around the country that you may have rolled with?
Absolutely.
Like Lindsay Dahl, she's badass.
Yeah, absolutely. I plan on doing that to the best of my ability. I have a lot of good friends that did a lot of great things, and they have busy schedules. I'd like to bring them in if I could. Sometimes it's hard, but I have teammates, that were great. I had a teammate down in Georgia when I was down in Georgia. He was a 2-time national finalist. I'd love for him to come in and roll my bigger guys. I'm hoping to be able to hire an assistant, and I have an assistant in mind. He was one of my old teammates, and he's a bigger guy as well. He would be able to, me and him together would really be able to create, I feel like, a pretty strong program. I'm hoping he comes down and is able to move down here and help me out at some point.
Have you put together a staff yet?
Well, right now it's just me, and with COVID going on, it'll be hard to hire anybody right now because of budgetary issues and stuff like that. But if I get enough guys here, and I can prove to the school that, hey, we're the real deal, that we're getting it done, they'll fight for me to be able to get the budget to hire somebody, and I already have the guy in mind that I want. So I know.
So it's important right now, the first year, it's important to get maybe a grad assistant in or get somebody that's really looking to kind of learn how to coach but is going to have to do it for free and kind of volunteer.
Right. And that's the opportunity, I'm going to try to present that to the school where I can do something like that. It's different at all programs and all schools, how they work that type of stuff in their budgets. But that's something I'm definitely going to fight for once I reach my numbers, and I'm up to 20. I got here in January. I started in January and I'm up to 20 already. I have 20 really tough guys coming in. So I think if I keep getting a couple more at the school, say, hey, maybe we need to give him something, So that's what I'm looking forward to, is being able to do that next.
What's a full roster look like? 30?
So the school didn't. Some people kind of underestimate what I'm capable of doing, sometimes. So whenever I was hired, they said, hey, we want you to get 12 to 15, before August, and I reached that before May. So they're pretty excited about that. So my goal is 25 to 30, because that's what I told them I believed I could get between January and August, and I'm closing in on that goal. So that's.
Now, what about women's? You think you can go there too, or right now one step at a time?
One step at a time. They've asked me about that, and I told them, I said, I've coached women's wrestling before. Like I said, when I was at Emmanuel, I coached, or I was one of the assistants on the women's team, and they had a great program. We took fourth in the country at WCWAs. They had a great program, and I love coaching women's wrestling. And I think it's the next big thing. But for me, I think we need to get a men's program off the ground and get it rolling and have constant recruiting numbers and have constant roster numbers before we try to open up something like that, And I also believe that it's a good time to start women's wrestling, but with what's going on right now in COVID, I think that us making the decision to hold off for a few years is a good decision.
Yeah, and I mean that makes sense, and
it'll help grow it at the high school level a little more too before we decide to start doing that as well. And I think that needs to grow some more as well.
Yeah, well, how about that girl winning the North Carolina men's state championship this year?
I was sitting Matt's side, man, watching it. It was a fun experience. She's tough, man. She's a 2-time Fargo All-American as well. She gets after it. She's going to be fun to watch in college.
Wow, insane, man. I'd love to talk to her if you can get her around.
Yeah, I'll reach out to her coach and see if he'll be willing to get her on here, and see if they'll be willing to do that. So I'll reach out to her coach.
How awesome is that? I know. Is it? My son went to camp up at App State last year, and he went as an individual, and it was a team camp. But what the hell do I know, right? I just showed up with him, and they put him on. I think it was Asheboro, North Carolina.
Yep.
And they have a father-son coaching,
and
man, they were so awesome. They took him under their wing, and he got to wrestle with them the whole time. I think he only got one win. He got smoked, but the team won, and it was a great experience for him. And but the guys kept in touch, and he's the one that told me about the girl winning it, and because he reached out and he let me know kind of what their camp plans were this year if Daniel wanted to go. And then of course this happened, so all fans are hesitant. But yeah, man, those guys are really nice, man. And I love North Carolina. Everybody there seems to always be very welcoming.
Southern hospitality.
Yeah, and it's funny. I don't know if you we had Steve Mock listening to his interview years ago when he talked about the difference from going from Iowa to Oklahoma State.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, man, those Southern roots in Oklahoma State was like, man, I really felt welcome, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. The farther south you go, man, people get super nice. It's great.
Well, that's super cool, man. Well, so let's, let me kind of open this up here. I don't know what's I'm always learning how to do this. I keep getting messages up here. I don't know what that means, but but it's telling me something. So we typically ask about we try to ask 10 questions before we get off here.
Okay.
Before I get into that, if you want to say anything else about Montreat and NAIA and the experience you can have, why and I'm sure you want obviously as a coach of Montreat, you'd like them to come to you, but also as a coach in the NAIA, it's always good to see it grow. So talk a little about that. Now, also, I had a question. I've heard things like I can get a scholarship at going to one direction, but not like, and I don't remember if it was, okay, Division III can't, but NAIA can, or if it's vice versa. Talk a little bit about that too.
So Division III doesn't do athletic scholarships. It's solely based on academics, you know, and they can offer great academic packages. That's why a lot of good kids go Division III, because they offer good academic packages, you know, and Division III is a great opportunity to go if you're looking for a very strong academic policy. You know, a lot of NAIAs have great academics, you know, as well. And just talking about Montreat, you know, we offer athletic scholarships, you know, and there's other scholarships as well on campus. You know, we have one of the best cybersecurity programs in the country. As of right now, you know, and we have students that are graduating making hundreds of thousands of dollars straight out of graduation with a cybersecurity degree, you know, and it's a great program to be a part of. And I mean, you're always going to need cybersecurity programs. We also offer pre-med degrees, you know, pre-chiropractic, pre-veterinarian, pre-physical therapy, you know, stuff like that. Our pre-degrees have 100% placement rate in the medical school. You know, so that's something that a lot of programs can't say as well, you know, and it's something great to be able to advertise when you're looking at kids that want to go into the medical field.
For sure. What are your goals to incorporate or to make sure that while I'm a wrestler for you,
Mm-hmm.
you're also making sure that I have opportunities to, whether it's intern with companies or grow myself to be able to have a life and a career successfully afterwards, to be able to then turn around and give back to our sport. What is going to be your goal with your athletes there?
Yeah, you know, academics have to come first, you know, and anytime something like that comes around, it's always going to come first. You know, I'm never going to ask them to put wrestling over something like that, you know. So if they get offered a mentorship, or if they get offered an internship, not a mentorship, an internship or something like that, or they're able to go visit somewhere where they could possibly interview for a job, something like that, I'm always going to write them letters, recommendation. You know, I'm always going to call people that I may know that's in a business field like that, that'll give them advice, you know, and stuff like that, you know. So it's real important to know that the kids are going to be able to come to me and say, hey, coach, I was just presented with this internship opportunity, but it's the same weekend as so-and-so tournament. You know, I'm going to say, go do your internship, you know, because your academics have to come first. And, you know, that's what's going to get you paid at the end of the day, because at some point wrestling ends in our life. You know, so we got to do what we're going to be capable of doing, and that's going out and doing what we're passionate about. And anything that they're passionate about, I'm always going to help them with.
Well, that's awesome, man. And I'm glad that I got to meet you and talk with you, and hopefully we get to talk for years to come.
Yes, sir. Hopefully.
And I don't know how to stop it's telling me that I'm recording, but I'm not supposed to record because it's telling me that I've used up all the space on this computer. I don't know. So I'm glad we're live because it's getting recorded.
Yeah.
So awesome. Yeah, man. I know that I think a lot of kids should be around you just from meeting you now and listening to you. And I hope that a lot of families get their kids around you. So Good luck to you over there. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and
Okay.
and let's see. So I'm going off the top of my head here. So folk style or freestyle?
Men's folk style, women freestyle.
Headgear or no headgear?
No headgear. I'd have to say no headgear because my ears didn't get damaged that much. So I'd have to say no headgear.
That's good. Singlet or two-piece?
Singlet.
And Coke or Pepsi?
Probably Coke. Probably Coke.
Yeah.
Probably Coke.
Birthday cake or ice cream cake?
Ice cream cake.
So do you prefer to go to the beach or to the pool?
The beach. Always, man.
The beach. And freshwater or saltwater when you're fishing?
Freshwater. I've had better luck in freshwater.
Let's see. Is it Brands or Sanderson?
Oh, that's a tough one. I had a class with Sanderson in my master's program, and I got to know him a little bit through that because we always answered each other's posts. I like the Brand's attitudes. I like Sanderson's outlook. So I'm going to have to say it's a tie on that one because I got to know Sanderson through my master's degree program, and Brands is just a different animal, but I like his enthusiasm and his intensity. So I'm going to have to go with that.
That's awesome. And rap or country?
Country.
Let's see, something like, I don't know, Asheville or Boone?
Asheville, man. Asheville's where it's at. Asheville's where it's at.
Beer City, USA, right?
Right. That's right. Boone's nice. Don't get me wrong. App State's got it made up there in Boone, but you can't beat Asheville.
I figured I'd throw something out like that. And then Popeyes or Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A.
Nice. Hey, man, I wish you the best of luck. And anytime you want to come on, just reach out. You've got my information. Yeah, man, I wish you the best. I hope you a lot of success. If you ever bring the team down here to SEU or Kaiser or St. Thomas or whatever, man, come by Central Florida. We'll hang out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Will do. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
Yes, sir, man. You take care.
All right. Take care.